And hello everyone, welcome back to another Meteor tutorial. So we have currently moved all of our sensitive stuff, or all of our sensitive code that, updates and inserts and deletes stuff from the database. We've all added that into, if we go here to API, into their own little methods here. So we've moved it more towards the back because we don't really want this to be used anywhere. So this is now much more secure and it's just much better in general. Now, there's actually another thing that we need to look at. It's called auto publish. Until now, we've kind of been working assuming that the entire database is present on the client. In simple terms, it means if we try and just call a find method to the MongoDB, we'll get every single task in that collection. And this isn't really good because let's say our users have some privacy sensitive data in there and we just call all of the data. Even if we don't show that privacy sensitive data, if someone who maybe knows how Meteor works and stuff like that, knows how to kind of tweak it so it does show that, it could be disastrous. So we actually have a way that we can kind of get rid of all of that worrisome stuff. And that's by removing auto publish. Just like with Insecure, which we removed in the previous step, all new kind of Meteor apps kind of start with auto publish. So just like with Insecure. And auto publish basically just automatically synchronizes all of the database content to the client. So we can just remove that. So I'm going to go here to terminal and say new terminal. And now we have a little terminal here. I'm just going to tmux into this for in case I need to use an extra terminal. You don't need to worry about tmux too much. We can just say Meteor, remove auto publish. So basically now when our app's going to refresh, the tasks list that's on the website will be empty. Because without auto publish, we have to specify what the server has to send to the client. And we have two functions in Meteor that allows us to do this. The meteor.publish and the meteor.subscribe functions. Publish allows the data to be published from the server to the client. So it sends data from the server to the client. Subscribe allows the client to ask for data to the client. So it basically asks, hey, can I get this data? And then publish says, yeah, take it. So in a sense, that's how it works. So this seems like it's going to take a while. I think we should continue while we wait for this. So let's create a new file. Also instead of imports and API, and we're going to call this taskpublications.js. So we can go here, click there, just say new file right here. And we can say taskpublications.js. And now here we have a new file, taskpublications.js. Let's just try and run this right here. So I'm going to say Meteor. And yeah, let's just try and run that. Now we're probably still going to have to wait for this Meteor to actually start up. So here we can start creating our first publication. So let's first import Meteor. And whoa, very slow. From, and here we can just specify Meteor/Meteor. Cool. So now I've imported Meteor. Now I can import task collection from, and here we can, in quotation marks, just import it from this right here. So go to DB and then here's our task collection. So just remember connecting to the database of this. So then here we can just go and say /import. And because this is Meteor we're talking about, it allows us to use /imports to get from the root directory. For in case you may have forgotten. So this will mean this directory here and not our PC's root directory. So we can say import. And we want to go to DB and then task collection. So I'm going to say /DB and then /tasks collection. There we go. So now we can implement this publish we've been talking about. So we're going to publish all of the data from here. So we can say, and why is nothing selected? There we go. Meteor.publish. And we can just specify tasks. And then we can go and create a function. And here we can say publish tasks. And it doesn't need to take anything in. And then in here we can say return tasks collection. And I'm going to say task there. And we can say dot find. And here it's also running. So before we continue, let's just make sure everything is as it should be. I'm going to follow that link. And let's just resize this a little bit so everyone can see. So here we go. Now here we have no tasks because there's no task to enter. Or there's no task to display because we removed auto publish. So the front end cannot just be like, hey, I need this data. We need to specify what data it can take in from the backend with publish and subscribe. So there's nothing here, even though there should be something here. Okay, now let's go here back to find. And now here we can say user ID and then this dot user ID. Remember this comes from Meteor here. Meteor basically allows us to call this here and get the actual user ID, so the authenticated user ID from Meteor itself. And take note, the reason why we're not using an arrow function here is very important because this will kind of lose its meaning if we were to use an arrow function here. So just take that. Ooh, that's not right. There we go. Anyways, so just take that as note. There should not be an arrow function, even though we really do want to make a one. It shouldn't be one because this will then change its meaning. So currently we have this publication, but the server isn't really sure it's there. The server isn't registering it. So what we have to do is we have to basically go to the server. So this main.js instead of the server. Where is the server there? Main.js. And we don't really have to do much with it. We just kind of have to import it. So here we can just copy that. Instead of task methods, we can say task publications. So task publications. There we go. Now, if we were to save this, the server will finally respond and know, hey, something is here. Thing is, it's not there yet. If we're going to, alright, thing actually crashed here. Let's see what happened. I accidentally spelled that wrong there. I cannot type today for the life of me. Anyhow, so we have to go back here and we just gotta fix that import. So tasks collection, or that's actually just task collection if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Now if we were to save that, then we should not be receiving any errors. Anyhow, what I meant to say was, here nothing's really going to change. If we can just, there. We're not going to get anything yet because right now we have implemented publishing, but currently the front end or the client can still not subscribe. It cannot ask, and we need to ask for data so we can publish that data to it. So it needs to subscribe to some data. So let's go to our UI. So I'm going to just close that client there. Go to our UI and then to our app.jsx here. And of course, I just want to save any changes I may have made here. I see. Okay, so no changes that I have to save. Now we can scroll down to our, what do you call it? Let's say our use tracker. We want to scroll down to that. So I'm just going to use search. And yeah, here we go. We are at our use trackers. Now we kind of want to transform our current use tracker into just one big use tracker, because currently having 3 use trackers kind of a waste of resources. So we want to just make it a bit bigger and just use one big one. So before I'm going to remove any use trackers here, I'm going to just first create it. So here we can say const, and we can get from this use tracker tasks, pending tasks count, and this is optional, but we can just refactor code a little bit more just to make it look a little bit simpler, or just work a little bit simpler. And then we can also get our loading. We can make that equal to use tracker, and then we can just do this, and then we can do our arrow function, and boom, here we go. We have a nice one use tracker that will get everything. So first, let's get if there is any available data. So const, and we can say no data available. And this is just if there's no data available, this is what's going to be given to us. Which is going to be an object where tasks are empty and where pending tasks count is equal to 0. Because if there's no task, then the amount of tasks that are pending is also going to be 0. Next up, we want to check if not Meteor dot user. So we want to, if there is not a user currently signed into Meteor, as there should be, then we want to go here and say return no data available, because there shouldn't be any data available if there isn't a user. Perfect. Then we can create a handler. So const handler is equal to Meteor, and here we're going to subscribe to a publication. So we can say meteor.subscribe, and here we can say tasks. Or was it called tasks? Let's go here and see, it was called tasks. So this publication is what we are subscribing to here. Good. So now we have subscribed to. So now we are basically requesting that data from the publication. We're saying, hey, can we please get the data instead of tasks? And then it's like, let me think. So while it's thinking, we need to get if it's ready. So if not handler, handler dot ready. So if this right there is not ready because it's still thinking, does it really want to do that? Then here we want to say return. That should be return. And we can pass in dot no data available, and this is just a spread operator, meaning it's going to pass in this right here. So that's all that this spread operator is doing. So instead of passing in this entire object, it's just passing in the values and keys of this object inside of here. And we can also say is loading, then true. So yeah, then it's going to basically say it's currently loading because it's thinking, do I really want to give all my data to this right here? And then if it's not ready, then it should just return that. Otherwise, it means it is ready. So if it gets past this if statement, it's probably ready. So we can say const tasks is equal to tasks collection dot find. And now here we can finally do our things. So we're going to say if hide completed, and hide completed, this one right here, is coming from here. So if it should hide a completed, then pending only filter, and pending only filter, if we were to go check right there, so there's a pending only filter. Anyhow, then pending only filter, else we want to user filter, and then of course user filter, if we go like this, there we go, there's user filter. So these two, we'll move them above this function in a second, but yeah, so here's the user filter and here's the pending only filter. Okay, cool. Now that's the first condition that we should do. Next up is we should do the sorting. So we can say sort, and we can say created at, and we just make that equal to -1, and that will sort it from the last data was created. So the newest will be first. And of course, after all of this, we can finally say dot fetch. Again, and cool. Now here we can say const pending task count is equal to task collection dot find, and we can say pending only filter, and in here we can just say dot count. Most of this should seem relatively similar to what we have been doing this whole time. So basically, let's start from the top here. First, we say if there's no data available, that's how it's going to be by default. Then we figure out, hey, is there a user logged in? Is there a current user that's actually valid here? If not, just return what we have here. They don't need to say anything then. Then we go, okay, handler, are we allowed to please ask for data from the database? And then it's like, I wonder, are you? And once it's like, yes, you are, then it's going to just go past this if statement because this is what it's thinking. So it's going to be like, I don't know, maybe, maybe not. And then down here, we basically get the tasks, and we are now allowed to use all of this because we have subscribed right there. So it published the data for us to use. And then, and then we just get the pending tasks count. So it's just how many tasks are still pending. Then you can say return tasks as well as pending tasks count. And so now we need to basically insert a loading state, because if it's still thinking if it should send the data to us, we need to be able to show the user that we are loading. So let's go here and find the class name of filter right here. Perfect. And then right below this and above that UL, we can put the loading status. So right here we can say is loading. So if it is loading, then we can create a div. So div, the class name equal to loading. And here we can just say, you can maybe like add your own little thing here, but I'm just going to say loading for right now, but you can like add a little spinner or whatever you want here. There will be nothing wrong with that. And that's our loading status. So that loading will just appear if it's currently loading for the data. Now you probably want to style the loading as well. So we can just go here, but I believe I have already added all of the necessary styling, but just for in case, we can go to client to main.css and just make sure you have the styling for loading. And no, we don't. That means we have to add that styling. I'm going to go here to the bottom and just add the loading right there. And now we have the styling for the loading. And now we can save this and see if we get any errors or if we can just be happy. And here we do get a few errors. So let's see, what errors are we getting? So first, here we have a bunch of things. Errors prevented startup while building web browser. Task has already been declared. That is very true. So now we can start removing things that has already been declared thanks to this. So here we're outside of that, where tasks is being declared here, we can delete this. We don't need this anymore because tasks has already been declared. Now if we go here, we have a new error. And it's saying identifier pending tasks has already been declared, meaning pending tasks has already been declared. So this one right here, no. We need a pending tasks. My bad. This one right here, this can be removed because we have already declared it inside of this massive use tracker. Now, let's see what we get. We get a server restarted, meaning there's probably no more errors for us to worry about. So let's go here to our app and just refresh. And we can go here to check if we do receive any errors, which we do. We receive 2 of them. And now if I just scroll up, here we can say an error occurred in app, and here it says, okay, didn't really understand that too much. Here we go. And user filter can't really access it because we're trying to access it here, but it hasn't been declared yet, which is being declared here. So what we can do is we can just cut this and move it up here. And then we can remove that. And there we go. Now if we save that, we should not be receiving any errors. Or maybe we shall, we'll see. And here we go. Pending only tasks before initialization. Okay, so we have a few other things we have to move around. And let's go here. Okay, so I'm going to move this upwards. So now we can paste that here. So yeah, I'm going to save that, see what we get next. And yeah, let's just refresh the page. And here is the error. Currently, our user filter is being used before it's initialized. So here's the user filter, yet it gets used here, and this was up here. That should not be like that. Perfect. Now let's save that, and theoretically, we shouldn't be receiving any more errors, but you never know. And here we go. So perfect. Hide completed. Works perfectly fine. Show all. Learn code. Perfectly fine. Hide completed. Uncheck that. Okay, let's delete clean house here. Works perfectly fine. Let's try to add a new task. Kababa. Add task. And it gets added. Okay, so we have basically made everything work, and it's now super secure, because currently we are basically telling the backend, hey, can you send us some data? And then the backend's like, I wonder, can I send you some data? And then it sends it. And last thing is, there's now a little loading status as well. So if we refresh here, we should see that loading status for at least a little short while. And yeah, very short, but it is there. Perfect. Okay, so what's next? So currently we also have this thing where basically if we were to try and, let's say, delete someone else's task, we would not have any problems with it. And that's a little bit of a problem, because we don't want someone else to delete our tasks, and we shouldn't be able to delete someone else's tasks. So we need to go to tasks methods. So let's go right here. And where it says remove, then right here we can just verify that the task we want to remove actually exists. I'm just going to paste this in here. So this is basically a task. Then we're going to find one task with the task ID passed in. And then we're checking, is the user ID the same as this user ID? Because currently we're storing this data and there's a user ID attached to it. So if the user ID is the one that is actually trying to change something, then it will return what we want. So if it's not, then we can just say if not task, because then if nothing is returned, that means this user that's trying to edit this isn't the owner of this one right here. And we can just say throw new Meteor dot error, and we can just throw an access denied, because we want to deny them the access to delete someone else's task. So yet again, it finds one task with this user's ID and with this task's ID. If those two are both as expected, it will return a task and it will just remove that task. Otherwise, if that task is empty because either the user ID or the task ID isn't what was given, then we'll say access denied. Now we want to basically do the same thing here, but for the is checked as well, because we don't want someone else to check our things, and we don't want to be able to check someone else's things. So then here we can just get the task once again, same method, and this time same thing is thrown. So if task, then that happens. So the same thing as what we just did. And yeah, after this change right here, our code is secure and ready to go, because currently right here, we cannot edit someone else's task, they cannot edit our tasks. The tasks are securely being passed in to the database and published from it as well. So no longer is the front end doing things it shouldn't be doing, and the back end is doing everything that it should. And yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all again in the next tutorial.